When we were getting ready for Encounter, and I was kind of going back and forth on what I was going to talk about the day that I spoke, and I knew that he was going in the vein of what does a cornerstone man look like. The Lord had just dropped all this stuff in his spirit before Encounter weekend, and so he knew his direction. It was very clear. And so I contemplated trying to mirror that in a way that was, so what does a cornerstone woman look like? And honestly, I just didn't feel like that was the context for it, the Encounter weekend. And so I went a different direction for those of you that were here. But tonight, I do think this is the context for that. So I'm going to try to talk about what a cornerstone woman would look like. These are just my thoughts, you know. First of all, I'll say that cornerstone women, we are kept women. Have you ever known a kept woman? I have a friend, she's one of my absolute best friends. She and her husband are dear friends of ours in ministry, and she is a kept woman, y'all. Her husband takes care of her so well. Like, he pumps her gas for her. And I'm not talking about like they're in the car together and so he gets out and pumps her gas. I'm talking about he monitors her gas so she don't have to think about it. Like, he'll go out, he'll be at home, and he'll take her car and fill it up with gas. That's amazing. I'm just like, goals. But if you know me and you know Jeremy any amount of time, y'all know I'm pretty well kept too. I mean, he takes care of me. He keeps me well. Not necessarily in gifts. That's not my language. I don't want gifts. But he is very attentive to me. He prioritizes me. He's attentive. He keeps me well. We are all kept women. You may say, I don't even have a husband. But you have a heavenly Father who keeps you better than any man could ever keep you. Our heavenly Father keeps me better than Jeremy. He keeps us well. And as kept women, we are also secure. Cornerstone women are secure. When we were youth pastors in Texas, this was 20-something years ago. I was around 22, 23 years old. There was a lady that helped us in our youth ministry. She was at least a decade older than me. And she told me something one time, and honestly, I didn't even really know what it meant. She said, Michelle, you're one of the most secure women I've ever met, and I'd like to be more like you. I knew that was a compliment, but I didn't know what it meant. She was a friend of mine, so I knew she wasn't saying something mean. But I thought, what does that mean? What's she saying? I'm secure. And I guess the best way that it formulated in me was that, well, I know what insecure means. So I guess I would be kind of the opposite of insecure. And we all battle insecurities. I don't think that's something that we ever completely graduate from. But I just want to declare over us that Cornerstone women are secure. We're secure in our Creator. We're secure in who He's created us to be, in our uniqueness, in our divine design. We are secure. We're comfortable in our own skin. That is a really good place to be. If you know my son, Kingston, he is so comfortable in his own skin. For years, when he was in elementary school, y'all, teachers would tell us over and over, Kingston is just comfortable in his own skin. He knows who he is. He knows who he isn't. Youth pastors are telling us this. It's not an arrogance. It's just he's comfortable. He's secure. And I love that about him. So Cornerstone women are kept. They are secure. And this leads us to being content. Contentment is where I'm really going to settle in tonight and focus on being content. Anybody know somebody that's hard to please? Is it yourself? You can admit it. I'm hard to please. I know it. I own it. No one's half the battle, right? I know I'm hard to please. Jeremy's told y'all how he would not dare try to make my coffee or load the dishwasher because it's not going to please me. That's fine. I'm not asking him to do it either, okay? I know this about myself. I get on my own nerves. I am so hard to please. I'm like, Michelle, would you quit being dumb about this? This does not matter. Just get over it. He will not pick out the restaurant that we're going to. If we're going on a special date night, he is not going to pick out the restaurant. That's way too much pressure. He don't want to sit there and deal with me and my bad attitude because I don't like where we are. Some little thing has gotten thrown off, and I'm set off, and I'm on my own nerves, and it's just a whole deal. So he's going to make me pick that out. Back in 2021, in the summer, I got COVID, and I was actually in the hospital for 4 days. So I came home, I recovered at home, but it was a pretty slow recovery. And I came home with an oxygen tank. Our bedroom's upstairs, so I spent the majority of my time upstairs. I couldn't really drag that thing up and down the stairs, so I was just kind of camped out upstairs. And one morning, he came upstairs and said, "Would you like some breakfast?" And I said, "Yes, please." Anybody know where this is going? So he brings me my favorite breakfast, eggs in a basket. Y'all know what eggs in a basket is, right? You have the bread, and you like cut the little hole in the middle, and you put it in a skillet, you butter it real good, both sides. Put it in a skillet, crack an egg in the middle of it, fry that egg. You get it's just the best combination. You have that buttery, toasty bread, and then you have that runny yolk, egg yolk, and it just all just blends. It's the best combination. So he brought me egg in a basket, set it down in front of me. I poked my fork into that egg, y'all, and there wasn't no yolk running nowhere. I looked at him, and I said 4 words. "I can't eat this." Y'all would have thought I cussed him out. He stomped off. He said, "Well, I'll eat it then." I said, "Well, that's fine. I don't care what you do with it, but I'm not eating it." So he has never brought me another well-done egg. I don't know if he's ever made me eggs since then. I don't know. I hadn't asked him to, you know. I thought he should have known how to make me my eggs. Now he does, right? Contentment is such a powerful virtue. It has so many positive benefits in our life. And likewise, a lack of contentment can be incredibly harmful to our lives, especially if this goes unchecked. It is true that much of what ails the human heart is a lack of contentment. Not whatever the thing is out there. It's the lack of contentment. We do it to ourselves. We get on our own nerves, okay? And contentment, the Bible says, is learned. Don't you love that? Philippians 4:12, "I have learned the secret of being content, whether living in plenty or in want." This is Paul writing from prison, by the way. 2 thoughts right here immediately I see. It's a secret. Contentment is a secret. I truly believe that most people have no idea how to be content. Second, we see that contentment has to be learned. Paul said he learned this in prison. We are not born content, okay? It's something that we have to learn. My daughter, Neelan, when she was 2 or 3 years old, I think, somewhere in there, she would do this thing, and we still laugh about this. She'd be sitting in her little high chair, eating her food, watching her cartoons, and a commercial would come on. One of these, like, whatever commercials they put on whenever kids are watching cartoons. And whatever it was, she'd say, "I wish I could have that." Just like that, every time. I mean, we laughed at her. It's like it didn't matter if it was a doll or a dinosaur. Commercial comes on the screen. "I wish I could have that." And we still laugh about that and joke about that in our family. And, you know, that's kind of understandable with a toddler. But do we see that? Not in us, just like other people. Other people. That it's like it doesn't matter what it is. "I wish I could have that." This is because contentment, we are not born with it, okay? A baby is born naturally dissatisfied, right? They're not born just completely satisfied. It actually takes them 6 weeks at least, I think, to learn to smile. They have to learn satisfaction and learn contentment. God did not say that we should not have desires. That is not our issue. That's not Christianity, that's Buddhism. Buddhism says all human suffering is as a result of our desires. So Buddhism's goal is to eliminate all desires. and they're seeking this state of nirvana, but that's not happiness, that's just nothingness. You see, desires in and of themselves is not the issue. Every great accomplishment, whether it's a building, a city, a government, a church, we're all born out of a desire. They're fueled by desires. Great marriages, great families were born out of a desire. Somebody had to desire that. Nothing is accomplished without desires. That's not the issue. It's when these desires go unchecked that they evolve into lust or covet. Covet, what's that? We don't hear that word a lot, do we? Coveting is the uncontrolled desire to acquire. Simply put, in Exodus, you shall not covet anything that belongs to your neighbor. See, coveting's serious business. It's right there in the 10 Commandments with murder. Okay? Again, contentment is not the absence of desire, but it's choosing peace over constant striving. Contentment is freedom from craving. Contentment leads to joy because joy thrives when our desire and our appreciation align. And I'm going to talk more about that later, just throwing that out there. In today's society, contentment is often misunderstood as complacency. Okay, and it's not the same thing. This is because people value and judge us based upon our accomplishments or our achievements instead of the status of our soul. And that's wrong thinking. Being content does not mean we aren't driven, determined, or assertive in life. That is not what it means. To be content does not mean you have to squash your drive or desire for growth or progress in things. As Olaf says, those are all good things, right? But be aware that discontent can masquerade as ambition, pushing constant striving without satisfaction. Contentment creates the foundation so that your drive can be healthy and well-governed, while also fueling your desire for progress. It's a balance, okay? Godly contentment creates boundaries and a framework for maximizing our potential and capabilities while minimizing the negative potential fallout. It's a balance. Lack of contentment ultimately leads us to a state of fatigue. Wanting more pushes us to work harder, work longer, which results in us being tired. Being tired is a symptom of trying to do too much. Have you ever been tired? Like really, really tired? I'm going to tell you about the time I was the most tired in my entire life. It was 1999. Jeremy and I were, I don't know, when I had kids, maybe I would rethink this, but I don't know. When you hear this, you might agree. Jeremy and I were in our first year of marriage. We lived in Maryville, Missouri. That is way up in the northwest corner, like by Iowa, Nebraska, all them states. Long ways away, okay? And it was getting close to Christmas time. He was a youth pastor. I taught preschool at the public school. And it was our last day of school before Christmas break, and so we had our preschool party. You know, we had the games, we had the gifts, we had all the treats and the sweets. We had chaos, but guess what? All the parents were there. So when the parents are there, I'm just like, hey, y'all tend to your own. You know, I'm just going to step back. Had all the parents there, had the chaos. So I survived the party. We got out of school half a day, came home. Jeremy's day was spent preparing for our lock-in at church because we thought it would be a great idea for the kids getting out of school to kick off their Christmas break with a lock-in. So we had our lock-in, y'all. Around 8 o'clock that next morning, when the last kid got picked up, he and I jumped in my Mitsubishi Galant, which was already loaded down, heading home for the holidays. Do y'all know how long of a drive it is from Maryville, Missouri to Covington, Tennessee. Nine hours and 49 minutes. We ready. We can't wait to get home. Okay, we got this. We're young. We'll be fine. We take off driving. Okay, and let me insert this. We had to stop in Springfield, Missouri, or we chose to stop in Springfield, Missouri to finish our Christmas shopping. We had went to college in Springfield, and there was a really good Goodwill there. So, broke, we going to Goodwill to finish our Christmas shopping, okay? No shame. This is just life. Here we are. So, have you ever tried to shop when you're tired? And y'all know, if you go to Goodwill, you ain't going to walk up in Goodwill and find what you want right there on the first rack. You're going to have to dig. You're going to have to work. You're going to have to focus. It's going to take some time. Now, it's going to be worth it, but it's going to take some focus and some time. So I'm in there. I'm digging. I'm checking everything off our Christmas list. I'm doing work. And I'm ready to leave. We don't have cell phones. This is 1999. I'm looking for Jeremy. I traipse all over the store looking for him. And I find him asleep in a recliner. In the Goodwill recliner, y'all. I'm like, are you serious right now? So I'm shaking him. He was dead asleep, like out. I'm shaking him. I get him woke up. Remember, he's reactor. So he's like, where am I at? What's going on? I'm like, we're in Goodwill. Come on. We got to go. So we get done. Shopping's complete. We jump back in the car. We've got about 3 or 4 more hours of this drive. And we're on this long highway, and it's dreary, and the sun's going down. And all of the events of the past 24 hours seem to come crashing upon both of us at the exact same time. We are so tired we cannot see straight, neither one of us. We're fighting. We're arguing. We're taking turns driving. Now, before you even think about it, stopping to get a hotel room, no. We done went to Goodwill to get the Christmas list. The hotel ain't in the budget. That's not happening. We just got to push through, y'all. So you would think, okay, one of y'all drive, the other one sleep, right? No. Two 22, 21-year-old, whatever. He's younger than me. Whatever we were, I think I was 22, he was 21, are not that mature. Okay, our thinking is, if I got to be awake and drive, you got to be awake. You got to talk and keep me awake. I mean, we are just out of our mind. We are arguing. We are fighting. We decided to stop at a gas station, get us something to eat, something to drink, hopefully we can get woken up. So we go in, we do that, we use the bathroom, we get to the register, and it's fixing to be Jeremy's turn to drive. And we get up there to the register, and there's some of those things, I think this is right, called no-dos. Is that right? I don't know, y'all. I'm not. And I saw them, and I said, hey, it's fixing to be your turn to drive. Won't you get some of those? I think that'll probably help you. Oh, my gosh. No way. He freaks out. No. I mean, this man ain't never had no foreign substance in his body, and he was not about to start now on no-dos. I mean, I hadn't either, but I guess I was just more of a risk taker. So we jumped back in the car. Thankfully, I guess the snacks, the stop, whatever, the Lord did the trick. We were good. We made it home. All is good. That was a temporary state of being tired, okay? But a constant worldly striving will put you in a somewhat permanent state of fatigue, very different. Proverbs, do not wear yourself out to be rich. Have the wisdom to show restraint. Notice this does not say thou shalt not be rich. It just says don't wear yourself out striving. Tolstoy told a story 100 years ago of a master who told a peasant, I will give you land that you can keep as much as you can walk around in one day. The peasant took off running, trying to cover as much ground as possible. He ran all day, At the end of the day, he fell out exhausted and died. I fear we are in danger of killing ourselves, dying from exhaustion for things, y'all. See, tired minds crave what they lack. A tired mind is dangerous. Tired minds lead to restlessness, poor decision-making, and makes us susceptible to temptation. 1 Timothy 6:9, people who long to be rich fall into temptation and are trapped by many foolish and harmful desires that plunge them into ruin and destruction. Jeremy and I were in a meeting with a former denominational leader, and he was talking to us ministers, which are just humans, so we can interchange the word humans, minister with humans. And he was telling about whenever he is counseling or dealing with ministers that have had a fall of some sort. Maybe it was an affair, maybe an addiction, drugs, pornography, gambling. He found a trend, and it was fatigue. See, wanting more, working harder or longer, and acquiring more actually brings anxiety. If we don't have it, we don't have to worry about it. Okay, but the more we have, the more we have to worry about. Your business may explode, and then you have to go hire more employees. So all of a sudden, you have more to worry about, okay? You have to manage that well. Not only do you have to worry about your family, now you have to worry about them and their families. Most people sacrifice their health in the first half of life in order to gain money, which brings them to sacrificing money the second half of their life in an attempt to regain their health. Right? Look at Ecclesiastes. It says, a working man can get a good night's sleep, but the rich man has so much that he stays awake worrying. There's a study that says insomnia actually increases with income. Isn't that interesting? If you're like me, it's like, hey, I'll volunteer for that study. Give me a couple million. I got some melatonin gummies. I'll be fine. We'll figure it out, right? The richest man in the Bible, Solomon, said this: if you love money, you'll never be satisfied. If you long to be rich, you'll never get all you want. It's useless. This is Solomon saying this. He is credible. This is not some poor person that's just pontificating on something they don't know. The question was asked of John Rockefeller, one of the richest men to live, how much money will make a man happy? His answer, just a little bit more. A wealthy landowner was asked, how much more land do you need or do you want? He said, oh, well, I don't want much, just that part over there that butts up to what I already have. See, everything in this world tries to entice us to more. Think about Adam and Eve in the garden. The original sin was partly a result of their discontentment. The Lord had placed them and provided them with everything they could need or want. The work that God assigned them should have been enough. But their discontentment sent them out of God's presence. And that's a pretty high price to pay, I'd say. Since the fall, the act of contentment has had to be learned by humans. See, contentment is an active, joyful state of being satisfied with what God provides rather than a passive acceptance or a lack of desire for anything more. Remember, we're not talking about desires here. We're not talking about complacency. We're talking about being satisfied. In Psalms, it says, but I have calmed and quieted myself. I am like a weaned child with its mother. Like a weaned child, I am content. I've done the work. I've quieted myself. If you have nursed a baby, you know that it can be a fight when it comes time to wean that baby. And it just goes against all of our motherly instinct. It's like, give this baby what it wants. It just wants to nurse. It just wants food. So just give this baby what it wants. And for me, I loved nursing because the weight just fell off, y'all. I mean, I was starving all the time, but I was eating all the time, and I was still losing weight. So, I mean, that was awesome. Like, honestly, if it wasn't so weird, I'd still be nursing my kids just for the benefit of being able to eat what I want. I mean, I said it's weird. We're not doing it. But we have to do the hard thing, and we have to wean that baby. Because once that baby's weaned and he's no longer impatiently demanding from you, he's content. Because we knew better what that baby needed. I found an interesting devotional writing when I was studying this out, and it was from the 1900s. It was called Daily Strength for Daily Needs. You may be familiar with it. It's a compilation. And I'm just going to read these to you. Remember, it's from the 1900s, so it's going to sound a little 1900-ish. If we wish to gain contentment, we must, real quick, number one, allow yourself to complain of nothing, not even the weather. Can't change it. Number two, never picture thyself to thyself under any circumstances in which thou art not. That's a lot of selves and thous. Basically, no if only thinking. If only I had. If only I were. Number three, never compare your lot with that of anybody else. Never allow yourself to dwell on the wish that this or that had been or were otherwise than it was. I know that's like a mouthful. This is what I love. God loves us better and more wisely than we do ourselves. So don't dwell on fruitless wishes. Never dwell on tomorrow. Remember that it's God's, not yours. Tomorrow is really none of our business. Our business is today. God is already in tomorrow. There's no future to God because he stands outside of time. He sees the beginning from the end. That's why he's Alpha and Omega. Learning to rest in the present is key because anxiety often comes from wanting the future to look different. We cannot entertain this when and then thinking, y'all. When I get married, then I'll be happy. When I start a family, then I'll be happy. When I get my degree, I'll be happy. When I get that promotion, I'll be happy. When I get that house, I'll be happy. It's not going to happen, okay? Because humans are growing, changing, evolving. That thing is constant. It's stationary. It doesn't change. So it may fulfill us for a moment, but we're going to basically grow out of it. How many of you got your kids or grandkids Christmas presents last year? Okay. They gave you a list. You went down the list. You got their list. You made all their dreams come true, right? Are you going to get them something this year? Why? I thought, hey, we got the list. Everything's good. They wanted it so bad. Because they grow out of it. We're the same way. Things stay the same. We grow, we evolve. Ecclesiastes, again, if God gives a man wealth, and we do understand that we're all wealthy, right? If we have food in our refrigerator, we're wealthy. If we have a refrigerator, we're wealthy. Some of y'all, bougie, y'all got the refrigerator in the garage, okay? Y'all on another level. If God gives a man wealth and property, he should be grateful and enjoy what he has. It's a gift from God. We should make it our aim to enjoy what we have and where we are in life. We are as happy right now as we choose to be, y'all. See, contentment is a mindset. It's not contingent on circumstances or status. It's all internal. Gratitude fuels contentment, focusing on what we have instead of what we lack. You could read that want. Shifts our heart. Because rarely do we actually lack. Very rarely are we in lack. We just want. We're wanters. And I'm not confessing this, but maybe you've heard this or you can relate to this or you know somebody that's like this. I used to dream of the salary that I'm now starving on. Have you heard that? Now, I will say that most of us, I will confess to this, I am living in blessings right now that used to be prayer requests, right? Can you identify with that? We all can. Absolutely. There was an elderly farmer who owned a farm, And this farm had hills, it had cows, it had a pond. And he told his wife, I'm tired of this farm. I'm going to put it up for sale. I'm going to call my realtor friend. I'm going to put this farm up for sale. She said, why do you want to sell the farm? He said, well, these hills are exhausting. This pond gets nasty, stagnant all the time, and it seems like these cows are always getting out. I'm tired of this. I just want to get rid of it. He called his realtor. They talked about it. Got everything set up. The realtor called him back and said, just let me read this listing to you just to make sure you approve before we put this on the market and this goes live. So he read the listing to him. He said, for sale, beautiful farm with rolling hills and meadows, with a herd of healthy livestock to graze those hills, and a fresh water source situated perfectly in the middle of the property. The farmer was quiet, so the realtor read it to him a second time. The farmer said, you know, I've been looking for a place like that my whole life. I believe I'll just keep it. Discontentment blinds us to our blessings. While contentment brings perspective so we can see abundance where we may have seen lack. But this requires discipline because we live in a culture that's constantly telling us we don't have enough. And if we fall into the trap of I don't have enough, and it's a trap because again, we pretty much have enough. But if we fall into that trap, we have two choices. One of the choices is hard, and one of the choices is easy. If we fall into the trap of I don't have enough, we can work more. Remember what working more leads to? Tired, anxiety, conflict in our home. None of that sounds appealing. Or we can want less. That's our two choices. Work more, want less. How do we go about wanting less? A practical first step toward wanting less is admitting we actually do have enough. And that's kind of what I've been saying. We need to change our language with the word enough. Okay, most of us, or a lot of us, only use the word enough in the negative context of I don't have enough. But we need to rework that word and use it to affirm our abundance and say, I have enough. I'm good, we're fine, we're okay. This is a way to deprogram us from this craving for more. Another practical tool in learning contentment is journaling. Journaling our emotions allows us to adequately process our feelings while reducing the restless longing for more. See, discontentment wants us to ignore our present and focus on the future or the past. But journaling forces us to focus on our present, to live in our present. Journaling causes us to notice life. Maybe start by writing 3 to 5 things in the morning that you're thankful for, or at night before you go to bed, counting your blessings and just noticing everyday wins or everyday moments in your life. Remember the 100-year-old devotional I read from earlier? Comparison is literally stealing our contentment, y'all. There is nothing good that comes from comparison. Corinthians, we do not dare classify or compare ourselves. It is not wise. Bottom line. We need to limit our exposure to everybody else's life so that we can focus on our own. You know, social media. It's not always good for us. Social media can lead us to FOMO, and then we're spiraling. Discontentment leads us down a road of dissatisfaction with ourselves, our lives, our families, our husbands, which opens us up to bitterness or resentment toward circumstances, people, or life in general. Ultimately, a lack of contentment will rob us of the life-giving relationships that are meant to enrich us because we have jealousy and resentment, and so we can't enjoy those relationships. Discontentment may feed a sense of entitlement. They have that, I deserve that, I should have that. I got a funny story about that. Jeremy and I were broke up. Shocker. I know he's told you. This was the summer after my sophomore year of college. And I know he's told y'all how I broke up with him all the time. It's true. I admit it. Well, when I would break up with him, he wouldn't accept it, y'all. It's like he never had a girlfriend before. I was his one and only. He knew I was the one. And so when I broke up with him, it was like, I'm not coming into agreement with that. And he just put on the pressure more and more, which of course would push me away. But he didn't understand that. We're here, it's good. So that summer, I was working at Camp Jackson. I was an intern, and we were broke up. And he came to camp with our youth group and as a leader. So that whole week, he's heavy pursuit, y'all. He is on my nerves. And there was a girl, a friend of mine. She was a mutual friend of ours. She went to college with Jeremy, and she was in some of his classes. But she was more my friend than his. And after watching this pursuit all week long and my indifference, she said, you know what? You don't even deserve that man of God. Okay, I guess she thought she did, right? Discontentment much? Entitlement much? And can I tell y'all, she ain't never got married. Because God don't like ugly, right? Moving along. I ain't mad about it. Listen, he kept pursuing me. Wasn't nothing going to stop him. Contentment often correlates with generosity because life is not about things. Giving without expectation in return reinforces our satisfaction. Rick Warren says, giving generously is the act of holding loosely to the things of this world and acknowledging that accumulation does not fill the soul. The story was told of a young, wealthy man who took his life. And someone at the funeral said, I can't believe this. He had so much to live for. And another person said, well, he had a lot to live on, but I'm not sure he had a lot to live for. If you think about that, that's pretty sad. May we not expend our lives in acquiring what we think we need to live on, but rather invest our lives in what we are living for. Because people have a way of filling our hearts more effectively than possessions. Relationships and memories are a much higher commodity than stuff. Basically, memories over materialism. I know Jeremy has told y'all before how we do not lavish gifts on our kids at Christmas. It's just a decision that we made when they were young, and we instead value experiences and memories over gifts. Now, they get plenty of gifts. The grandparents, the aunts and uncles, they're dying to do the gifts, and so it works out. They get plenty of gifts. But we just made the decision, again, to emphasize memories and experiences over materials, over things. And before you think I'm Scrooge, go look up what it costs to go to Disney at Christmas, okay? Or to get a cabin in the mountains in between Christmas and New Year's. We'd come out way ahead if we stuffed all them gifts under the tree, y'all. It's not about money. It's just about our values. And everybody has to make their own decisions about their family. Everybody has their own traditions. That's just what we do. For us, that is a way that we practice memories over materialism. And I'm not really talking about materialism tonight, but I do have two little side notes. First of all, generosity is the antidote to materialism. Generosity. Tithing is God's gift to us to break the grip of materialism in our lives that the world is just shoving down our throats all the time. Tithing is actually God's gift. Hebrews 13:5, keep your lives free from the love of money and be content with what you have, because God has said, never will I leave you, never will I forsake you. This verse right here really sums this up. First of all, now contentment has become a command. It's not a little suggestion. It's not a life hack. It's a command. And then we also get the why behind this. The why is because God has said, I'll never leave you or forsake you. He says, I'm here. I'm enough. But we got trust issues. Trust issues started way back in the garden. Everything they could have needed right there. And the serpent comes to Eve and says, did God really say? Does he really have your best interest in mind? And it's so ludicrous to think that Eve would fall into this trap. But the enemy found a crack of insecurity in Eve. And he does this to us all the time. And he called into question the goodness of God. In the middle of the garden, the enemy has the audacity to call into question the goodness of God. And something in Eve's heart was not content. And she made the poor decision. Psalm 16:5, Lord, you have assigned me my portion and my cup. You have made my lot secure. You have assigned me my portion. You have made my lot secure. What I have is mine. It's secure. Whatever is going on in my life, Lord, you've got me. You have assigned my portion. Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Another translation says, the Lord is my shepherd, I have all that I need. The problem is we are classifying needs when they're actually greeds. We're labeling them as needs, but they're actually greeds. Jeremy did some teaching on this a couple of years ago, and I did pull some stuff from his notes that I wanted to throw in here, so this language will be familiar to you. David refers to the Lord as his shepherd. A shepherd is ultimately responsible for his sheep. The Lord takes personal responsibility for us. He's got us. We must see him well as our shepherd. Within him is all our hearts need and rest for our soul. He's my shepherd, I shall not want. He leads me to what I need, not necessarily what I want. When I get fixated on my wants, I tend to inadvertently resist his leading because it doesn't look like what I think I need, but it is. He leads me to streams. He leads me to green pastures. Sometimes he leads me to the valley, but he's always leading and he's always with me. So we have to see him well. Sometimes we have to realize that we're holding on to unrealistic expectations, y'all. And it's in the acceptance of our lot that he's assigned to us that our peace is actually found. A quote from Jeremy, we must learn to hold loosely to what we thought about the future and hold tightly to the one we know holds the future. Contentment is the fruit or the benefit of knowing who God is, our shepherd, and knowing who we are in him. Elizabeth Elliot said, there will be no disappointments if my will is buried and surrendered in the will of God. So much of what I've talked about tonight has been centered around greed and the desire for money, but there are actually other avenues that discontentment will manifest in. And so I want to kind of switch. Look at Luke. Jesus said, watch out and guard yourselves from every kind of greed. So there are different kinds, not just the monetary accumulation. Because your true life is not made up of the things you own, no matter how rich you may be. A businessman noticed a fisherman who was putting his stuff away, packing up for the day, and it was at noon. And this bothered the businessman. And he said, what are you doing? It's only noon. You've got hours left in this day to catch fish. The fisherman said, well, I've caught enough fish for the day. I want to go home, sit on the porch, have coffee with my wife. The businessman said, oh, no, you can't do that. You need to keep fishing because then you can The more fish you catch, the more you can sell. The more you sell, the more money you'll have. The more money you'll have, the richer you'll be. The richer you are, the more boats you can buy. The more boats you buy, the more fish you catch, the more you sell, the more money you make, the richer you are. And then one day, when you're rich enough, you can sell all your boats, and then you can go home and sit on the porch and have coffee with your wife. The fisherman thought for a minute and said, well, sounds like I'm as rich as I need to be, because I can do that right now. That fisherman had his priorities in line. The fisherman knew, he understood something. We are happiest in life when we do the most what we do the best in our purpose. See, greed and aspirations of power or status will attempt to seduce us out of our sweet spot. Let's play this scenario out. You have a fisherman who's absolutely content at what he's doing. He's earning a decent living. All his basic needs are met. But maybe he can't meet all of his taste or his desires or his wife's taste. Y'all know how we do. Okay, I done brought us into this. And so he goes out and he buys another boat. He buys a second boat. He buys a third boat. He buys a fourth boat. Now he's no longer a fisherman. He's a manager. And that's fine if he has the giftings and the capacity to be a manager. But maybe he wasn't built to manage. Maybe he was built to be on the water and be outdoors and be a fisherman. See, he has been pushed out of his purpose. Purpose is important. Not every teacher is meant to be a principal. I taught middle school for 12 years. I did not become a principal. My brother-in-law is in his mid-50s, and he has taught CDC for almost 30 years. He is content. His family's happy. The kids love him. He is in his purpose. Back in 2011, Kingston was a little over a year old. I was pregnant with Neeland, and Jeremy and I decided, we were pastoring in Texas at this time, and we decided we wanted to move home. We had intentionally waited almost 11 years before we had kids. You may not know that about us. I'm just going to share a little bit about that. This was a decision that we made together. We really wanted to just thrust ourselves into ministry and God's call and what God had for us. And so we wanted to be able to just jump up at any point in time wherever we felt God was leading us. And he's told you how we've taken pay cuts several times in different positions. And that was partly because we didn't have children. We didn't have a family to consider. I taught middle school math, so I could go anywhere and get a job. No problem. So that was the way we lived our lives. 2010, we started a family. We were in Texas. And then I was pregnant with Neeland shortly thereafter. And we just felt a drawing to get back home, to get close to our parents, to raise our kids around their grandparents. So we moved home with really no plan. His dad had a concrete business that he had worked with him summers when he was a teenager. Hated every second of it, okay? But he liked that little money to take me to O'Charlie's on. And I liked it too, if we're being honest. So he knew he could work with his dad in his concrete company. Nothing fancy, low-level laborer, okay? His dad is not going to give him anything. He'll give him an opportunity. Bring him on as a low-level laborer. That was his skill level. So he worked with his dad, his concrete company, traveled and preached here and there. He had done that as well. So as the months go by, and our future is kind of what's going on here, there was an allure for him to sink himself into that concrete business. His dad, again, he'd give him an opportunity. He could learn to become a finisher, work himself up to a foreman, a partner, owner, and we'd have had a nice living. Michelle, Kingston, Neeland, we'd all had a good life. And his dad's concrete business was very successful. He'd spent his whole life building a reputation. It was highly sought after all over the Mid-South. Very successful, very lucrative business. If I would have pushed him into that at that point in our life, I would have been pushing him out of his purpose. It might have looked like promotion, but I would have been pushing him out of his purpose, y'all. We know he is not built to pour concrete. As bad as that life and as bad as I might have wanted that to be. And he would trust my voice. Okay, we are partners on every level. And if I would have pushed him, he certainly would have considered going that path. So, because of my greed, I would have pushed him out of that purpose. Proverbs 15:27. A greedy man brings trouble to his family or woman. Ladies, we have to be careful that we aren't the driving force of greed in our families, in our husbands, in our children, in our homes. Okay? I know in our scenario, in our lives, over the years, I've had to balance the tension between there are times in our life when I've said, babe, you can do this. I think you need to put your name in for this opening, put your resume in. You can do this. You've got this in you. You have capacity. And I've done that. I've pushed him. I've called him higher. But we have to have discernment because there also comes a point when there may be an offer out there and you know your husband well enough. You know his capabilities, his capacity, his gifting, his desires. And sometimes there's a point when you say, you know what, we're good. And you have to just be disciplined enough and be content in your heart and not fuel that greed. We never want to be the source of greed. We were discussing these scenarios coming into tonight, and he wanted me to tell you, here's a message straight from him. A decent man will work himself to death to give us what we want. That house, that car, that vacation, that remodel. He feels like a baller when he can meet our needs. These are his words, y'all. So this isn't just something I'm speculating. This is him as a man. So if this is true, then we have a responsibility to be the counter to greed with a heart of contentment. As women, we can't let greed seduce us or our husbands out of doing the most what we or they do the best. We as women will never know the weight of being a man. We will never know how they wake up in the morning, the responsibility that they feel, the weight of their responsibility. Jeremy and I have discussed this at length. The DNA of a man. Do we have enough? Am I enough? Am I providing enough? Will we be okay? Will our family be okay? It's just in a man, y'all. I know we as women, I'm not trying to diminish anything about us. You know, we're the default parent. We got our own set of expectations. But it is just different with a man. Okay? Us women, I know for us it's like that meme that says, he'll never know when we're out of detergent or when the kids need tennis shoes, but my card's never declined, right? Different roles, same goals. We work together. But we do need to acknowledge the weight that they carry, the responsibility that they carry. Pastor Heather, if you come on up and play for us. I'm winding down. Isaiah 26:3. You, Lord, give perfect peace to those who keep their purpose firm and put their trust in you. There was something I missed just a minute ago. The number one cause of divorce is not adultery, but actual financial tension. That went with what I was just talking about. I thought that was something I needed to throw in. Back to this scripture. Isaiah, you, Lord, give perfect peace to those who keep their purpose firm. They're not pushed out of it. And put their trust in you. This is why we can't push ourselves or our men out of their purpose. The price is too high. If it costs us our peace, it's too high, period. We will not entertain that. So do you see the dangerous cycle here? We're discontent with what we have, so we want more. Our husbands, out of the good of their hearts, They are going to do whatever they can to give us what we want. So that's going to lead to him either changing jobs, pushing him possibly out of his purpose, or it's going to lead to him just working longer and harder, taking on more hours. Now that's fatigue. Remember, we have fatigue, tired. He's not only physically not present, but then we get the emotionally not present, and that's even worse. We all want our men to be emotionally present. We have a responsibility to learn the secret of the law of contentment. There's too much writing on this lesson. How many of you would say, I want a life of less fatigue, less anxiety, less conflict? That is a life of contentment. That's the secret. Now, there is a measure of discontentment that we will always have, and it's a healthy one, because this world's not our home. So we're always going to have some discontentment. When we were teenagers, we'd sing the song, "This world is nothing for me." And I pray that we would actually believe that and live that way. This is my last scripture. It's from the Living Bible, and it's a focus for us. But as for me, my contentment is not in wealth, but in seeing you and knowing all is well between us. And when I awake in heaven, I'll be fully satisfied, for I'll see you face to face. My contentment is found in knowing all is well between us. If we're good, I'm good. My heart is content in him, as my heavenly Father, as my shepherd. Our closing is going to be a little different tonight. I'm not going to call you forward because I don't think this is something that a prayer partner can lay hands on you and impart to you. I think a more appropriate response would just be maybe some reflection there in your seats. Pastor Heather's just going to play. If you want to journal,